Coming up on TechZilla, Windows Home Server. What is it and should you care? Windows 7 beta, let me tell you folks, Vista doesn't suck anymore. And what's the best PC form factor to use if you want to build a car PC? All that plus the continuing drama that is WiMAX. Let's take a moment to thank the sponsors that are helping us bring you the show today. Squarespace, Netflix, and GoDaddy.com. Welcome to TechZilla, the best new tech reviewed and making the best of the technology you already own.
Hey, no matter if you're a newbie or a hardcore tech tweaker, we're going to help you tame that tech beast. Mac, PC, HD TV. Wait, how about games, Pat? Didn't you have me here for a reason?
Sure.
All right,
We
all
like
right.
the gameage.
All right, so we've got answers for you.
We do, actually. And you know what? If we don't, we track down experts like Garnet that do. Hey,
Did you just tap me as an expert?
I just tapped you as an expert.
Wow.
You're an industry expert. You are esteemed in your community.
Thanks, man.
You're also the king of content at oneup.com.
I am now, you know what, I have another new job now. So now my job is making shows for everybody out there. So if you have an idea that you wanted to see, I'm really open, I'm fishing, I'm looking for stuff that's video, audio related. We got a new thing we're doing. We're playing games on Ustream. You familiar with Ustream?
Yes.
So we're playing games on there and taking live questions while we're playing the games. It's a little... It's a little risky, right? I mean, you never know what's going to happen when people are asking questions, but we're just trying to
Especially in a live environment with no 7-second delay.
Right. Well,
What games are you playing?
We're taking the questions off the forums. We're not quite chat. We've been around this here internet thing before. We kind of have an audio that's going
There's
on.
brave and then there's suicidal.
So we've done. We did Street Fighter. We did a game called Afro Samurai last week, and then
How is that?
Afro Samurai.
It's weird because I haven't been able to drive or walk or move anywhere in the last 3 weeks without seeing an Afro Samurai billboard.
Oh well, you
or
know it's got Sam
poster.
Jackson behind it, right?
I know.
So I don't know. I mean, if you like the anime, then I think you'll like it. But it's kind of it's a lot of sword fighting and a lot of cutting people up and.
So if you're into
there's-
sword fighting and cursing, it's good.
It's super mature. It's like really funny. It's so you could get a little bit into the game, and there's a scene where you're in this very feudal Japanese environment, and the next thing you know, you're inside this thing that looks like a harem's house complete with a stripper pole in the center of it, and these topless ninjas come sliding down out of the ceiling.
I'm sorry, did you say topless ninjas?
Topless ninjas,
Are they wearing
seriously.
ninja masks?
No.
Okay.
No, they're wearing a little body paint,
So they're semi-naked ninjas.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're just topless. They didn't want to go. Yeah, seriously. So it's funny. I mean,
This week on Ask a Ninja, are topless ninjas?
then we're playing Fear 2 next week, and I'm really excited about that. Another mature title, but Fear 2 is like this awesome title that takes like the combination of The Ring and some Akira sort of fantasy, and drops you into a great shooter with it at the same time. I'm really looking forward to playing that
So
game.
you fight back finally.
Yeah, but it's all at the same time you're like, you're coming down a hallway and then the lights drop out and your HUD drops and you get a lot of static interference because all the paranormal stuff. It's cool. I don't know, dude. It's cool. I like it. I
I have a hot personal tip.
Yes.
Because I know you've been sort of loving the Android G1 phone.
I do love my Android G1.
You're going to tell us about Cupcake in a second, but important safety tip, I always say, like, put a screen protector on and buy a case for your new phone as soon as you buy it. As soon as I took this out of the case, I dropped it on concrete.
Well, you see, the handy dandy G1 comes with a little sleeve when you buy it.
Are you sure it's not a pocket protector?
I'm sure, dude. Why you do that to me?
Because
Why
you
do that to me?
usually do it first.
All right, that's true. That's
Cupcake.
True. And I've already dropped my phone 3 times with this on it. No big deal. Cupcake's really cool. Cupcake is the upcoming update to the Android OS.
Right.
So the difference between the OS and then the phone, a lot of people get that confusion. The G1 is an Android-based phone, but they've done a lot of hooks that make it work really well with Google. So while they're doing this update, they have to go in and build those hooks back in. If you're into like being risky, you can hack your phone and put the dev kit for Cupcake on right now.
Have you done that yet?
No, dude. I like my phone to work. I use it on a regular basis. I want it to be just my regular everyday phone, right? So, I'm just going to keep up with it. Hey, so I know you like racing out in the middle of nowhere, grabbing hot exhaust pipes and singeing your hands, that kind of thing.
You're still getting mileage out of that. You grab one exhaust pipe.
Exactly. Hey, Rusty sent us our first Vmail today, and he wants to know about taking his computer out on the desert sand. So take it away, Rusty.
Hey Patrick and Veronica, I saw the segment that you did on the Micro and Pico ITX boards, and I have a question that hopefully Patrick could help me out with. I know that you're a big rally truck fan, and I'm working on my Datsun 720. I was wondering what the power consumption was on these small boards and if they can stand the high heat. I'm looking to run some type of mapping program as well as display some of the engine information. Will these boards be powerful enough?
All right, dude, so let's talk about some ITX power consumption because you've got props back here you're going to show off, and wow. Like, this is a tech guy right here. He has the anti-static back. Notice he's not just dropping it out on the table. He's got an EPC. Tell me about ITX power. What's Rusty's biggest problems?
Actually, heat. He mentioned heat, right? Heat is
Right.
actually less of an issue than vibration, Rusty. Vibration is the biggest issue for the hard drive, which means the price is dropping on SSD solid state drives is rather timely for you. They're getting super cheap. I'm actually working on a solid state drive roundup for later in February. These things are stupid fast, doing certain things, other things not so much. In any case, power consumption on like mini ITX or micro ATX motherboards vary a lot because they can mount pretty much anything from a VIA processor to the latest Core 2 Duo. So the Intel board I'm holding right here, you'll notice something there is a big old honking ATX connector. Mini ITX is 6.7 inches by 6.7 inch motherboard factor, came from VIA. Micro ATX came out of, I think, Intel originally, and those are between 6.75 and 9 inches. So like a micro ATX can be about that big. It's basically designed to fit onto the ATX motherboard formats. They're pretty much just as powerful up to a point. Your biggest thing is going to be onboard graphics, which isn't going to impact you. You're doing mapping software. You're not going to be playing video games in the truck. You're not going to be playing Blu-ray discs. You know, there's some interesting ideas out there. You can go with an all-in-one computer like the eBox. This is the eBox PC. It's running an Atom 230 processor, so you're looking at like a 19-volt, 3.42 amp power supply. So you're looking at like 65 watts of power, or roughly the same as a single 10-inch HID driving light, or about half the power of a regular 10-inch off-road light. Now, if you're looking for something like a 500-watt power supply connected to a Core 2 Duo machine, you're looking at something like 150 watts as an average power, maybe 85 or 90 watts at idle, which are going to be actually running through an inverter, which means you're going to be doing like 150 divided by 12, so it's called around 10 amps, or roughly a single driving light. Is that right? 150 divided by 12, 12 times 12, wow, could be as much as 12 amps drawing off of that. So that's something you're definitely going to watch out. It's not going to be enough to blow a line, but you might want to do a direct line to the battery on that one. I think the bigger issue there actually is something you were talking about before, which is dust.
Dust would be a big bugaboo for me, but before you move on, I got to ask you a question. You probably looked at a lot of netbooks. What's your take on the processor thing? I mean, do you like the Atom, or would you jump to the Intel?
I like, well, the Atom actually is an Intel processor. There's basically like VIA versus, VIA's got a processor, Intel's got a processor called the Atom. I want to say the VIA Nano, and I'm sure I got that wrong, which makes me sad, but Atom seems to do a better job with power consumption because it has throttling capabilities. The VIA processor actually has more raw horsepower. So both of them are basically capable, both of them at full throttle are capable of playing like a 720p video.
So playing the consumer here for Rusty,
Right.
It sounds to me like an Atom-based solution for him would be really good, because that way the throttling is going to help him out. It's going to stay nice and compact, because this is obviously a really easy to, and that could fit in the truck almost any place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be EPC, but that tells me the form factor is there for him to do that sort of mounting installation.
It's pretty slick actually. For like 65 bucks, you can basically buy the equivalent of the motherboard inside of this, buy a solid state drive going on to that. The power supply is a little less complicated in that situation. Your biggest thing actually, and you should definitely check out mini-box.com, mp3car.com. There's a bunch of people have been playing around. You really want to look for like a 12-volt power supply, because they're just so much simpler to rig up, because you don't want to have like a power inverter and then your regular PC power supply hooking into your PC. The biggest thing is like making sure the connectors don't fall out. Hot glue or silicone, to basically a little dab of silicone to tie on the memory chips in here to keep them from vibrating loose. Some people use silicone on all the larger capacitors and components to help them minimize the vibration, basically to tie them to each other and tie them down to the board. That keeps the vibration, because you're going to basically be like bouncing up and down. And that's one of the biggest things, is literally just not vibrating stuff directly off the board.
Well, when we were talking about this, that's what you said was the biggest deal, was vibration. Because I said dust right off the bat. I'm like, oh my God, how are you going to handle the dust? And Pat's like, don't worry about it, just clean it after each time.
Yeah, I mean,
no big deal.
Yeah, you basically like build a box around this, and you want to go with stuff that's as close as possible to being just fine air cooled. And the processor's the biggest issue with that. You can just put a big heatsink on the processor, and then put it someplace that's relatively dry, up under the dashboard, up under the seat.
Right, someplace protected. Yeah, you definitely don't want to have this exposed to the elements.
No. Actually, I've seen people actually mount it inside sort of the cab, like, you know, in between the drivers and stuff. Because that way, if you do decide to go through a river, you don't flood everything down low.
Isn't that the reason you're out there?
Well, sometimes the desert is dry, sometimes the desert is wet. One of the biggest problems, you need to start looking for a monitor right now. There's a ton of like 7, 12-inch panels being sold out there for in-car installation, but they're almost all composite input, i.e. that crappy RCA jack for standard definition television, which means the output from something like this is going to look awful. So you want to find something that's actually small enough to fit in your vehicle, because it's hard to fit a 15-inch flat panel inside the cabin in the cockpit of your truck that'll accept a DVI or more likely a VGA input. Start looking for that now because they're hard to find. And it's going to have to be as bright as you can find, or you're going to have to build a hood over it to actually see it during the day. And you know what? You're also going to need something you can set and forget. As a co-dog, I've driven hundreds of miles in off-road racing. Using like 6 big buttons on a low-range GPS when you're bouncing around at speed is hard. Using a keyboard and mouse because you want to change your destination is going to be impossible. So that's something critical to think about.
Hey, so as Rusty proved for us, we love questions, and especially video questions. So just record yourself in front of a video camera asking a question, and please don't make it longer than 15 seconds. Put it up on YouTube, and then email it to us with a link, video question in the subject line. Please don't do attachments, because our CTO Rizzo, he gets so mad. He comes after Patrick with the bow stick. He's going to get all over the email server problems. So there you go.
Why do you fill it? Why do you fill our server? Speaking of which, still to come, Windows Home Server, what the heck it is, why you can't live without it, or why you might want to live without it, Windows 7 Beta, and should you skip EVDO and go straight to WiMAX? First, a word for one of the sponsors that helps us bring the show to you, GoDaddy.com. You want to make an impact online? GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names for as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. GoDaddy.com makes it easy to customize your own virtual dedicated server. Choose one of 3 popular plans, or select your own Linux or Windows server with all the plan options you need. Plus, enter code TECH2, that's TEK2 when you check out. You're going to score an additional $5 off any order of $30 or more. Some restrictions apply. See the site for details. Do us a favor here at TechZilla. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com and help us out by using one of those tech codes when you do.
Hey, frugal computer users, it's time again for the freebie download of the week. This is the part of the show where we show you a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting, and this week, it's iSquint. If you're the owner of a 5th generation iPod or later, you can know how confusing it can be to convert video you find online into a format that'll play on your handheld. Sure, you can use QuickTime, but what if you want to convert video that QuickTime doesn't support natively? That's where iSquint comes in. This handy OS X based video converter takes almost any video format under the sun and converts it into an iPod-compatible format. Just drag and drop the file you want to convert, select the quality you want and the location for the output file, and hit start. It's that easy. Now, the author of iSquint is no longer supporting or distributing the application, but you can still download it off a number of sites, including Softpedia and Mac Update. So if you need a better way to convert videos for your iPod, give iSquint a try.
You know another great thing about iSquint?
You told me.
It's smoking fast.
That's the deal. I mean, video conversion, that's fast. Boom.
We like that. We actually used to use it to produce DLTV.
Wow, little known fact.
Little
Tidbit.
known fact. Somebody can
Soon
go
on Wiki.
put that on the DLT, yeah, the Wikipedia entry. Oh, and if anybody else is out on Wikipedia, please delete the part where it says I'm from Vermont. I've never lived there, and none of my colloquialisms have come from Vermont. Just correcting information. You put it in there. Now I know. Home networks are basically, everybody's got a home network these days, and a lot of you have been asking us about the Windows Home Server. Like Scott out in Texas, he writes in, can you do a segment on Windows Home Server showing how it works, building your own or using an HP MediaSmart PC?
Hey, ask Scott and you shall receive. And I'm glad you did ask, because I have a lot of media content, especially a lot of lossless audio I want to get out on my network. So tell me about, what's the deal?
Okay, so we've been getting a bunch of Windows Home Server emails, just like the one from Scott. So we asked HP for an eval unit, since the HP MediaSmart seems to be the target of much of your curiosity. They're kind of the major vendor offering a Windows Home Server box.
Well, I can pick it up on Amazon.
Well, yeah, actually, and something funny happened. HP asked us if we wanted to build our own DIY Windows Home Server box, which is why we actually picked up the E-Box, so we can do a low-power machine, and our Core 2 Duo motherboard here, so we can do a high-powered machine. And basically, we're going to start today talking about Windows Home Server, talk about our DIY box next week, and then in the final installment, talking about tweaking and customizing Windows Home Server. So welcome to part 1 of the Windows Home Server Challenge, brought to you by the HP MediaSmart Server, powered by Microsoft Windows Home Server.
And not powered by Linux? Come on, man, you gotta build a Linux box. If you're doing a project, this is TechZilla, you have to build a Linux box.
Once in a while, we go the smooth and simple route.
What is not smooth and simple about Linux, dude? You tell me all the time I should go Linux. This is what Linux is made for, right? Serving
I love
files.
Linux. So tell me how you're going to actually configure the automated backups of your computers on this.
I don't know. I'm going to go out to the Linux community, and they're going to help me because Linux community is awesome. They'll be right there to help me.
Just for fun, just for simplicity, we're going to try doing it the Windows way, and we're going to see if it's less painful.
Okay.
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 You sound just horrified.
I don't know. I think the forums are rolling with me, but we'll see. This could be easy.
I did
I'm good for
actually.
easy.
I got a funny tweet last week. It was basically somebody was like, Patrick doesn't know the current version of Ubuntu number, like the number, and I was just like, I never know the current version number of Ubuntu because I just download what the latest version is, and I'm happy. That's how I experience Linux at this stage of my life. Ubuntu just delete expletive works, and it works really, really well.
All right, then. So, what is it about this home server from Microsoft that you think is going to make it easy for the for the end user?
Well, it's interesting because it's essentially a fairly powerful version of Windows Server 2003 that's been, they dropped the interface on it that'll make it easy enough for anybody to run without thinking. This is a good thing.
By interface, I'm not hooking up a monitor and keyboard to this. This is like I have to come into it from another computer, probably through some sort of web interface.
You're going to plug an Ethernet cable into it. You're going to power it up. You're going to install some software on a Windows machine. You're going to need to install the software on the Windows machine to get it rolling. Type in the IP address and voila.
There it is.
The configuration will begin. So it's going to be interesting actually kind of looking at next week at the experience with the DIY Windows Home Server versions, but you can download a free 120-day trial from Microsoft. The software is out there. It'll cost less than $100 if you buy it OEM online. And the idea is for me, is like you, I'm looking at something like a terabyte of audio files right now off of my own CDs. I'm converting all my DVDs into video that I can access online. We are racking up baby pictures at an alarming rate. And it'll be interesting for me to actually look at something, because I've been using a Drobo for backup attached to a server box that I built. So it'll be fun for me to actually compare this to that in terms of ease of use, and especially in automated backups. Because sometimes I'm a little slacky on the backups.
And I don't even want to get into that conversation because you always slap my wrist about that. However, ease of use, I want to talk about 360 because that was a question I had. I looked at Windows Media Home Server about October, November timeframe last year, and it still was a little bit kludgy getting into it from your 360. And I find that funny because with Zune software, it's really easy to access your media. Hey,
I will borrow the Xbox 360 from the meeting room. I'm not laughing at Zune. I'm laughing at the fact that I'm going to have to sneak an Xbox 360 in the house, and my wife may kill me. There was an incident involving video games. We don't have them in the house anymore. Like, you've never played something for 12 hours straight.
Oops.
Yeah, garbage didn't make it out to the garbage. Anyhow, you got some questions about Windows Home Server, do us a favor, email us, techzilla@revision3.com. We'll do our best to answer them, including Garnett's Xbox 360 connected, because you want to stream the media from here onto an Xbox 360.
Yeah, I want to just bring it instantly and seamlessly, pull up in my playlists on the 360 Media Center, boom, drop it in and play.
So we're going to take a look at the performance, and we'll talk about the whole Windows Home Server versus, say, building an Ubuntu box next week. So
maybe I'll build a Linux box.
Ooh.
Not probably going to happen.
The Garnet Lee one-up Ugo. Hugo. Hugo, I'm terribly sorry. Don't hurt him, Hugo. He's good people. And it's time now for our Netflix-sponsored Pick of the Week. This week, the Babylon 5 television series. Created, produced, and written by J. Michael Straczynski, this landmark sci-fi series centered on the Babylon 5 space station, a focal point from politics, diplomacy, and conflict. Oh boy, was there conflict. Built around a 5-year story arc, each episode built on the previous, creating a coherent plot, characterizations, and story. It just gets bigger. So if you enjoy sci-fi or even a well-written story, you'll love Babylon 5, so put it on your Netflix queue today. And while you're there, don't forget to check out the other 90,000 titles available at Netflix, including a ton of Blu-ray titles with free shipping both ways to your home. And because they've got over 40 shipping centers now, almost all deliveries happen in a single business day. Netflix plans start at $4.99, but we got a hookup for you. You can get a free trial membership. Check it out at www.netflix.com/TechZilla. Please support TechZilla by supporting our sponsors.
Hey, it's time once again for another website we just can't get enough of. That's a website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, but just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, it's FeedFlix. So, say you've got a Netflix account and you pay a certain amount per month for your movie rentals. But have you ever wondered exactly how much you're paying per movie? Well, enter FeedFlix. Just link your Netflix account to the site and you'll get loads of useful information like how many movies per month you watch on average or how long it takes you to return a movie. And using this information, FeedFlix can determine how much you pay per movie on average, either with or without your instant watch activity. FeedFlix even has a few features Netflix lacks, such as the ability to view all your reviews on a single page. So the next time you're wondering if it's worth upgrading to the 4 at a time plan, check out FeedFlix.
Last week we promised you an introduction to Windows 7, talking about what's good, what's exciting about it. Joining me now today, the legendary Mr. Roger Chang, and like myself, actually, do we love I love Windows 7. It's everything that Vista should have been.
I like Windows 7 in so much that it is a definite, and not just a little bit, but quantifiably, it's a lot better than Vista.
Yeah, so we've talked about another place, or I've talked about in other places, like Vista is pretty much, I think, failed from a marketing standpoint. They're never going to resurrect the name, no matter how solid it's gotten. So Microsoft is pressing on. Windows 7, actually, some really good things about it. If you have Vista hardware, it should run spiffy. A lot of folks are running it on netbooks and seem to be happy. It is snappy, it is fast, it is clean. And what is Windows 7 Beta?
So Windows 7 Beta. Windows 7 is essentially the next iteration of the Windows operating system.
It's basically a cleaned up operating system.
And Microsoft released a beta of it to the public, so you just had to sign up, register. You could download an ISO, burn out the disk, and install it on your machine.
Hopefully you've already done that, like we told you to last week, because it's probably no longer available by the time you're watching this.
It's actually pretty straightforward. You have all the same settings. I mean, you can do user account controls or similar to the control panel. It's similar, but it's actually a lot more polished. Includes a couple of features that I thought it was nice. Initially, when you look off to the left, you used to have this kind of big kludgy sidebar that had a bunch of text. You know,
the classic mode or the regular mode. You'd choose one, and the giant sidebar or the taskbar would just sit there.
Now it's contextualized. It's just like this little button, control panel home. I click on that. I can click on any of these. I still get that, but now it's not, you know, 3/4, or I shouldn't say 3/4.
It's not wasting screen real estate.
Exactly. It's not a quarter of the screen. And, you know, when you look at it, it doesn't seem like much, but when you have a bunch of windows open and stuff, it makes a lot more, not just sense, but just a lot more to eyeball.
It's cleaner.
Exactly. So you're not filled with a bunch of kludge. So we're looking at the libraries, which essentially are virtual folders. The thing to understand about them being virtual and all is that unlike a normal folder, you can actually reassign it. In many ways, it's like the My Documents folder that you have in Windows. You can assign it to a different drive. You can assign it to a different folder.
Except
you
don't have to drag everything into the My Documents folder.
Exactly. It's a pointer, which is great.
That's the virtual part.
And the thing is, it allows you this kind of flexibility that you didn't have before. Instead of trying to shuffle, you know, a half a gig worth of, you know, MP3s or music or pictures
your
or
iTunes
photos.
folder, your My Music folder, the networked folder out on your home network versus the one that's in the work office space.
You now just say, I want that folder to be it. It doesn't do anything. It just points to it. So every time you need that folder, every time you pull up your pictures page, or not pictures page, pictures folder, it's that one that you've assigned. Now, there's something called the device stage.
It's pretty slick. Go into the control panel.
Yep.
And basically look for like your hardware controls. So it should be, there it is, hardware and sound. So devices and printers up there at the top. And this is actually what we're looking at is the device stage, unless I'm suffering massive delusions. And the idea actually is pretty slick. Vendor supplied XML. Basically, Microsoft set up an XML spec, so vendors can provide a photo of the device, access to its settings and capabilities, or, because not a lot of these are out actually for Windows 7, you might not have them. I'm actually looking forward to playing around with this on the graphics card to see if it's in there. But so if you right-clicked on that, again, contextual menus where you can actually start playing around with it. I like the idea that you're going to have this big picture of your printer or your scanner or your netcam and devices, all that. Windows Touch is something else that's built into Windows 7. We haven't actually had any chance to play around with it because we don't have the hardware for it. But imagine multi-touch and gesture computing built into every Windows 7 installation. So if you want to basically move stuff around on a screen.
You do need a touch screen, however. So you're looking at either one of those all-in-ones that look kind of like the iMac, where you can actually touch and kind of do the whole Minority Report thing.
I know where we may be able to borrow one.
Or you can do it on I'm assuming you can also do it on a tablet PC.
Again, something we do not have access to.
Now, you mentioned gaming. Unfortunately, know a little bit about it, but I don't know as much as Garnett because that is kind of his.
I step out and Garnet steps in.
I'm sure you've talked to the guys down at Extreme
yeah,
Tech.
definitely.
They've put games on 7. Have they seen any kind of noticeable increase or decrease in, frame rate or the amount of eye candy they can tack on to a particular game?
Right now, it's a beta product. The drivers are not mature, so across the board, it's not measuring up either to Vista on DX10, maybe because right now, if you're running high-end hardware, you want to be running Vista and DX10 because they work well together. If you're running like a step below that, then you want to be running XP and DX9. And in neither case does 7 beta live up to those yet. But they probably will. We're way early. Come on, this is going to be maybe a late 2009 or 2010 release. I think what you should look at right now are some of the cool things that they're doing in the interface. They've improved Game Explorer considerably. Game Explorer now has a text box, and a lot of times you'll see it's not filled, but it has a text box where they can include publisher data on what the game is. So if you're scrolling through the game, you'll be able to see what that is. And I especially like that they're building in the ability to update a game right out of Game Explorer. So you're not going to have to go out to the web and go looking around. As long as a publisher supports it, you'll be able to right-click, go to the menu, click Update. It's going to find the updates, patch up your game. I think that's a really good usability feature.
But I mean, from a gaming perspective, do you think 7 is headed in the right, or at least
I really do. I tell you why. 2 reasons I think so. First of all, it was interesting listening to you guys talk about Windows 7 because to me the best part about Windows 7 is when I turn on my machine, when it gets to the end of the boot routine, I don't have to sit there and watch the hard drive light to wait to know when I can use the machine. It's ready to go. That to me shows that it's snappy. The operating system has gotten lighter. It's running faster. I see the same thing in the USB performance. It looks like they've really improved that USB interface. So I think that overall it's going to be a better gaming platform down the road.
Well, it's kind of funny you mention that because you notice that there is kind of an arrow effect. Typically, even doing the transparency like that, when it was enabled on this laptop, if I moved it a little bit,
you get that stutter.
You would get a stutter and you'd literally wait a full second until you could do something else. The fact that I can do this on my laptop with transparency enabled speaks volumes, I think, in the amount of kind of polishing they did. The final question some of you might be asking is whether or not Windows 7 is for you and if you should download and install the beta. If you do not have a spare PC, do not download this OS beta and put it on your machine. Don't recommend it on any kind of mission critical machine. If it's for work, if it's for school, if it's for someone else, don't do it. If you have a spare machine, yeah, go ahead. You don't need any of the data on your laptop or a PC. You can blow everything away and you can install it. But do not pretend that once you have it, you can use it for any length of time past August because it will time out. And if you're not that comfortable installing a new operating system, then don't. Just wait for the reviews and then make up your mind then. But coming up after the break, how to get the best speeds on wireless broadband service, and is it possible to play a PC game without the CD-ROM inside the drive?
Hey there, it's David Prager, co-founder of Revision 3. I wanted to come on here to TechZilla to thank one of the sponsors that makes the show possible, and that sponsor is Squarespace. If you haven't heard of Squarespace, they're a web publishing platform as well as a hosting platform. What they allow you to do is basically create a website and put it online, and they provide tools that make you able to tool it around to look like pretty much anything you want, as well as all kinds of functionalities that you'd expect from any website. If you've been on the web, you can see all the different things that you can do online, from viewing videos, submitting videos, having a platform to say things, show images, suck in feeds from different sites you might have online. What this allows you to do is use their features to drag and drop and pull in things, change color palettes and all kinds of design features to really customize it and make it look the way you want. It's really cool because it does all of the back-end coding for you and lets you control just the front end and be really in control of what you're doing without really being able to have the technical chops or needing the technical chops to do the back-end stuff. And even better, Squarespace has put together a special deal to get 10% off your entire order for the lifetime that you use Squarespace. If you go to the site, squarespace.com, use the promo code TECHZ, that's TEKZ, you'll get 10% off for the lifetime that you use Squarespace to create your own site, blog, professional business site, anything like that. Check it out, squarespace.com.
Hey, do you want to be part of our continuing plans to make TechZilla a better and more compelling show? Then just join us in our Go-To meeting where you can share your thoughts about what you want to see on the show. All you need to do is sign up for a free Go-To meeting trial using the Try It Free button, along with the code TechZilla. Remember, sign up using the code TechZilla, and come this Friday, February the 6th, that's tomorrow, you'll have a chance to chat with Pat, Veronica, Roger, or Serafina, and let your voice be heard. So sign up now. You only have one day left.
We got a question from Zach in the Windy City who writes in, I want to pick your brains about the emerging high-speed wireless networks. I'd love to be able to ditch my wired connection in favor of a mobile solution, but it doesn't seem cost-effective right now. Bandwidth is a bit limited, even with EVDO. More importantly, if I decide to invest in EVDO, is the hardware going to be compatible with the new WiMAX standard? Zach.
WiMAX.
WiMAX.
I'm going to buy a new EPC with WiMAX built in, right?
No, you're not.
Oh, I thought I was.
Okay, here's the thing. WiMAX is a great concept. Mobile WiMAX probably isn't going to happen. Fixed WiMAX, i.e. something I can use with my notebook or a home base station, is probably going to happen in some areas. Right now there's basically like 2 WiMAX efforts. Clearwire and Sprint's Zoom or XOHM, Zom, whatever it's called. And they're both, well, Zom is available in Baltimore. Clearwire is available in Portland and Baltimore.
Isn't it all Clearwire though? Because I believe didn't Clearwire get all of them to get all the different brands together into like a consortium to do? That didn't work out so well.
You know, at this point, we could talk about the business model and the emerging competition and the question of 3G versus 4G performance and if WiMAX is 4G. But here's the simple reality. If you want to be able to use it in Chicago, you're not buying WiMAX anytime soon, right?
Is what Zach looking at as sort of a case where he should do EVDO for now and then let WiMAX either mature or be bypassed? Because is WiMAX going to get bypassed? Is that what's going to happen?
It's a really good question, right? The first half to the answer is if he wants to dump his wired connection and go wireless now, EVDO is really his only effective option, unless he happens to live in Baltimore and never want to use it outside of Baltimore except maybe Portland. So that's part 1. Part 2 actually is how much bandwidth do you consume every month? Because I happen to have what I understand is a grandfathered in Sprint EVDO modem. ... Now everyone offers caps. Not a particularly big deal if you're doing typical day-to-day downloads. However, if you say watch a ton of movies or rent a ton of movies off of iTunes or Netflix, suddenly that cap on your bandwidth is going to seem really, really ugly. And the overage charges are not so bad on Sprint, but could be like a car payment if you go several gigabytes over on another service.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing because you said they offer caps. In other words, they cap your data.
They cap your
data.
Basically, you're gonna hit the cap. They're gonna keep letting you download, and if you download enough gigabytes, you will be getting hammered with a really, really ugly bill. So right now, before anybody goes, I'm gonna dump my home connection, you need to look at how much bandwidth you're consuming on a monthly basis, and that's kind of like your big first step.
Absolutely.
Your second step is, you know what? EVDO is going to be a lot slower than DSL or a cable modem. It's going to be probably for most things comparable to DSL, unless you're doing huge file transfers or you happen to have a big honking connection at your corporate servers that you move huge amounts of data to. Those people stay wired. For everybody else, WiMAX is a great concept. It's been just around the corner since 2004, and it's still just around the corner. Sasha Segan's got the best reviews, best information on it of anybody I know. He's up at PCMag.com, and I liked how he referred to Sprint's efforts, which is like combined with Intel and a bunch of other people, as the first potentially national WiMAX network. But
road to someplace paved with good intentions.
Yes,
right.
It is.
So we got one last email, and this one comes from Eric, and he seems to be an avid gamer. He says, I've heard that you can play PC games without the CD or DVD in the drive. Is this true? And if so, is there a legal way I could do that I could try? Well. Sorry, Eric. Actually, really, the answer is generally no. Most games use the CD as a sort of copy protection check, and it's incorporated into all those various copy protection schemes that people get upset about the way the performance is. There's an alternative. You can use a service like Steam or Starbucks Impulse, and that's an online gaming distribution service, and then you run the games through their client, and of course, there's no CD running or DVD in your drive. But the only other alternative other than that, Pat, is those.
Alcohol 120%, which may be possible,
or
but
cracks,
is not necessarily.
And we don't want to talk about that stuff.
Cracks are evil.
That's a mess. You don't really want to go down that road.
If you want to play the video game, right? I understand, rent it somewhere and demo it, and then buy the damn thing. Really, seriously.
Well, it's a very legitimate complaint. The complaint is that the copy protection software, by reading off of the disk all the time, is eating up cycles and influencing the performance of the game on your computer, and this is very true. And a lot of times,
probably negatively influencing.
yeah. See, well, it's an offering. It's a feature.
It's a feature.
So there you go. Use an online service. Use Steam. I think Steam is actually the future. There's a whole other argument about the future of gaming on PC. We talked about it with Beta 7. I mean, the bigger problem for Microsoft is how do they get back a hold of actually having a gaming platform? Steam right now is the future. If you're not on Steam, try it out. I think you'll like it.
For all of you watching, do us a favor. We love in your questions, so email us techzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos, you ask us, we'll do it. But we need those emails. So don't be shy. Send them into techzilla@revision3.com.
Or even better, send us your video questions. Think of all the fun you'll have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show right here. Just keep it at 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, send us the link in the email with video question in the subject line. And as always, you can visit our forums at revision3.com/forum.
Another place you can visit is the Bill Conference. It's an event for people changing the world in big ways. It's a place for passionate people to come together to energize, brainstorm, and take action. And it's not the TED Conference. Revision 3 is going to bring the Bill Conference to you by streaming the talks and events at the Bill Conference live from Long Beach, California on February 7th and 8th. Tune in to see some of the world's brightest speakers talk about changing the world, and you can tune into it at revision3.com/bill. And we're conducting a survey to get some additional information about our viewers. It's for the marketing department, and we would love your feedback. If you have a few minutes to spare, please do us a favor and take the survey at revision3.com/TechZillaSurvey. For those of you who complete the survey, you'll be treated to a sneak peek at a new show we've been working on. Thank you for taking the time to help us out on this.
Hey, thanks everyone for watching Techzilla. And Veronica, hope you had a great time down in Southern California. I know you enjoyed what you were checking out.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Garnet Lee.
We'll see you next week on Techzilla. Good. Sorry.
Wow, I just totally made the highlight reel for the end of the show, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Hey, you could.
Hey, you're
Hey. Boom, 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 boom. Speaking of making the blooper reel.
Yes.
All right, so we have to explain why I'm here. Yeah, I just can't pop in.
You're the one who wrote it this way.
Trying to get rid of the double chin.
Oh my God.
What? You don't have double chin worries? I have double chin worries.
Are you ready?
Yeah. But Bullwinkle, that trick never works.